Welcome to the Hangar, Gene. This is the garage, it's the marina. It's where we keep all the small vessels that we use. So we've got Zodiacs, we've got our special operations boat, we've got the kayaks here. Just watch yourself as you make your way by
We
there.
did the kayak test, we're ready to go.
So you're ready to go. And this is really almost the heart of the ship from an operational perspective. This is what makes us an expedition ship. So having the size to put a big indoor garage where we can store all the boats and maintain them, get them ready for excursions. We've got massive doors on either side, hangar doors on either side, 13-ton doors that lift up on big hydraulics. And then we can launch all the equipment out these side doors. And of course, I can point to the Zodiacs and the kayaks and so on. I mentioned the special operations boat. This is a boomeranger special operations boat. This is military technology. It's the type of boat that was designed to be launched from carried into a theater by a helicopter and dropped from the helicopter into the water with a crew on board. And so this is a really capable, heavy-duty boat.
Is this a first for travelers to explore, guests to explore in Antarctica?
Yeah, we're the only vessels in the Antarctic fleet that have a boat like this inside. So it's not just having the boat itself, but it's the state-of-the-art launching system. So having this motorized slipway that extends out the stern of the ship, and then we can load our guests inside the hangar in comfort.
Stable and dry.
Exactly. They sit into the special ops boat, and then we launch the boat. They go for a cruise. They come back and come up the slipway. And I don't actually know whether the boat ride is more fun than the launch and recovery, but both are equally exciting. So.
I can't wait to try. And this has more options in bad weather, I would assume, that you could take out when you might not be able to kayak or Zodiac.
Yeah, certainly as you can see, it's a big boat. It's a heavy boat. It's designed to be very seaworthy. And so, we'll go out. That gives us a little more flexibility. Yeah, so this is George. George is one of our two submarines on board Polaris.
Yellow submarines.
Our two yellow submarines. The other one is Ringo. I'm not sure where the names came from.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
John and Paul are on Octantis. What could it mean?
Yeah, what could it mean? And so we have this garage for the sort of a temperature-controlled, humidity-controlled garage in here where they store the subs between operations. This garage door opens, the sub slides out on a motorized trolley, and then it can be hoisted and lowered into the water. This is another part of the hangar that differentiates us, having this dedicated space, having these subs on board the ship. There's a lot of beautiful places on the ship. As an expedition guy, this is the most beautiful part of the ship for me.
Well, one of your scientists in Amsterdam told me that last season on Octantis in Antarctica, they saw, and I'll get it wrong, but a giant jellyfish that is rarely, if ever, seen. Then they saw more of them. So what he said is you might see things no human has seen before down at the depths you go, which sounds just incredible too.
It's incredible.
Here in the beautiful Aula after a gorgeous day of exploring in Fournier Bay. But I'm here with Head of Expedition Operations, Aaron Lawton. And Aaron, thank you for joining us. We had a lot of questions now that we've been on board for 5 days.
Yeah, of course.
And seen your magnificent team. So if I could share a few and enlighten me, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Thank you, sir, to have the corporate with us. Firstly, we are sailing out of the bay, so we're almost in open water. We were in rougher waters the other night. I felt nothing. We put a glass of water on the windowsill. It never moved, and the waves were significant. Tell me, am I imagining, or is this one of the most stable ships I've ever been on?
Well, I would say it's one of the most stable ships you've ever been on. It's certainly the most stable ship I've ever been on. And really, it's a combination of the size of the ship at 200 meters, 205 meters long. It's got great stability. It's at 23 meters wide. It's a good sized ship. So it was built to go to the extremes of the world, to go to the Arctic or to the Antarctic, to cross big oceans in comfort. It's got stabilizing, dynamic stabilizing or fin stabilizing, but it's also got passive stabilizing with water ballast stabilization as well. And so that combination of various those systems and the design of the vessel, having a vessel that's big enough that they can build that stabilization into it, it gives us a very comfortable ride.
It's been amazing. You told me a funny story, though, earlier about your first time on the sister ship, Viking Octantis. Could you share that?
Yeah, it makes me feel silly now, of course, but I got on board the Octantis last February, and for our first season. I got into my cabin, we sailed out of Ushuaia. We got into a little bit of a blow, 30, 35 knots, and 3-4 meter swell, I suppose. And the type of blow that I'm going to feel this. And so I come into my cabin and I look around and I think, what are they doing? And there's a beautiful carafe of water on my desk and 2 glasses. There's books on the shelf and the binoculars. There's a little coffee machine, an espresso machine, and all this stuff on the counters. And I was tired. I'd just flown down from all the way down from Miami, and I really needed just to go to bed. But the first thing I did was I took everything off the desk. The little quiet box, the carafe, the glasses, everything off the shelves, and put it all down.
Because you were an experienced expedition cruiser.
I have lost camera lenses. I have woken up in the middle of the night hearing my pill bottle rolling around in the drawer of my desk and trying to figure out. And you spend 20 minutes lying in bed, not feeling great, thinking, what is that sound? And then it rolls the other way. And then you hear the crash and the crinkle of the lens and the filter, and you're just hoping that was just the filter on your lens that broke when it rolled off your desk. I've had computers slide off the desk.
Not on this ship. None of this is on this ship.
On the Octantis and Empire. But that's what I was expecting when I went to bed that night. So
is normal.
So I get up in the morning and I slept in a little bit. It was so comfortable. I slept in, and so I rushed off to breakfast. And while I was at breakfast, my room was cleaned, and the housekeeper was in and tidied up my room and and commented to the executive housekeeper, who commented to the hotel general manager that I had stripped everything off every shelf in the room and put it down on the floor. And they weren't really sure why I'd done it. So I was told called into the general manager's office, and he said, you don't have to put everything on the floor on this ship.
Not on this ship.
It's stable. And we had a good laugh about it at the time, and I'm probably blushing right now thinking about it.
I thought that was wonderful, and a wonderful example of the surprises. The wonderful surprises. I've been surprised on this ship because I've been on other expeditions.
Well, it's certainly, and I guess that that's a funny story, but what it means is we get to Antarctica more comfortable. We're more rested. Yep. We're in good health. We're hydrated. We've been eating properly, and yes, some people will get seasick. Some people get seasick in the bathtub, and it's not anything to do with them. It's to do with it's not their psychology. It's to do with an inner ear balance or something. We can't help it when we get seasick.
Right.
And so some people will, but the majority of our guests will cross the Drake in relative comfort, which means they're ready the moment we get to Antarctica to explore.
That's been our experience, and I've certainly been grateful.
Yeah.
Can I switch gears a little? Now I have met your whole expedition team and your scientist on board, and I am just in awe. Every single one of them is a specialist in their field, is expert, and moreover, they seem to have incalculable experience in Antarctica. Could you share some of the expertise or the years of exploration in Antarctica that your team combines?
Yeah, certainly. We have an expedition leader who's
amazing.
Just turned 30, and he's done over 100 trips to the Antarctic.
Mark is just fantastic.
It's fantastic, and who would think that he'd packed that many years? And when you hear about his life, wow. And I mean, he's impressive in expedition cruising, but he's had so many experiences.
100 visits.
Yeah, over 100. One of our expedition guides overwintered last winter, 2 winters ago, at Rothera Station as one of the field guides for the British Antarctic Survey. We've got a historian that's motored a small police vessel, patrol vessel, through the Northwest Passage, and been down to the Antarctic numerous times as well. We figured that we've got over 150 years of expedition cruise experience, and
150 years,
and a lot of that is Antarctic experience. So there's a wealth of knowledge and stories, and we have this little event in the evening, expedition diaries or expedition stories in the Hyde, and sometimes you do something like that and you can't find someone to come up with a story, and and it's we have a lineup. I tried to get into the lineup to
and
tell my
full.
story, and they're like, maybe in 3 weeks we could get you on, but we're filled up with the team for the next few weeks.
That's amazing.
And it is. They've got so many great experiences in the polar regions.
Well, and the briefings we have here at night are wonderful to recap the day, but then they go on and we hear from 2 or 3 of the expedition team or scientists of a little vignette to teach us something about clouds, whales, winds, and it's just enough to make me realize how little I know, but enough to make me start appreciating new things. I'm really getting excited about science, and I'm embarrassed to say it wasn't something that excited me before. But you left out one thing. How many times have you been to Antarctica?
Well, I guess it's somewhere in the 140s, 140 odd trips. I started when I was 23, and that was a few years ago.
But that's a lot of trips.
It's a lot of trips, and it's a lot of great experiences. It's a lot of experiencing Antarctica. It's different every time you go. I don't often find myself bored on a trip to Antarctica, even after that many voyages. There's always something, you can look at it in a different way, and really it's the experience with the guests that every time I go out in a Zodiac with someone, they open my eyes in a different way to Antarctica. They have a different interpretation. And even one of my guides today was we were in a Zodiac heading to start the kayak operation, and we're motoring off, and she was staring at the sky, and I'd never really thought about Antarctic clouds.
Right.
And that's, you mentioned it, that's a passion of hers.
Elsa,
our kayak guide and lead kayak guide, and so she starts talking to us about the clouds just on the Zodiac cruise, and I was trying to think if I'd ever been in a Zodiac learning about clouds, and even more interestingly, if I'd ever seen that many people interested in clouds in one boat.
Well, that's
small.
my point. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And so that's what going to Antarctica, and that's the experience for me that makes it exciting every time. So well, I have tagged a few trips off on down here. I do try to look at every trip as a first experience, and look at it with different eyes.
Well, it's opened mine tremendously, and 2 of your team have told me separately that they're brilliant guides, brilliant scientists, naturalists, and said, I wasn't thinking of being on a ship, but I heard what Viking was doing. I heard what they were investing in the science and the citizen science, and they said, with that strong a focus, it's what attracted me, and I think that's what's attracted this stellar team that we have on board.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think it's also what attracts a lot of our guests. Is that, and so bringing both together, it's a wonderful program.
I'm in awe. I flip again. What I also know that your team does brilliantly is flexibility. And we are on an expedition. We all signed up for various activities even before we came, some after we came that have been added, but every day changes. And the first day people would be like, well, I was kayaking at 1 and now it's kayaking at 4. It's flexibility for both the team as they rejigger everything, but the guest. Could you speak a little to how pliable your team is to, if something happens, the weather won't allow this happen. I've just been shocked. I can always explore some way, somehow, but that flexibility is impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad you've noticed it. It's I don't think there's ever going to be a trip to Antarctica where we follow the Viking daily. perfectly day after day on an expedition cruise. And I don't think that's an issue. I think if we tried to follow that, we would have to just stop activities. We'd have to cancel things, and that's not what we want to do. And so what we try to do on the way south is explain all the procedures and the regulations, the guidelines, but also to give you the tools, some of the education through our lectures, to give you the tools to understand and appreciate what you're seeing, what you're going to experience. During that, we're also talking about we're trying to educate about some of the powers of Mother Nature in Antarctica, of the rapid weather changes, the way the ice moves. And that's all really selfishly for an expedition team. That's us trying to prepare you in advance for the changes that are invariably going to happen.
Right.
We have a plan. We start every day with a plan, and sometimes it works, and sometimes we have to shift on the fly. And it could be ice moving in, with the tide coming in. The brash ice comes into a bay, and so that all of a sudden we're partway through a landing, and then our access to the beach is cut off, and so then we have to think, well, can we find a different landing site around the corner, which we can do sometimes? Do we switch into Zodiacs and Zodiac cruise and explore the site from Zodiacs? It could be kayaking and realizing that it's a little rough for the kayaks today. Let's put some extra special operations boat tours on. And we did that yesterday, and we got an extra few, an extra 30, 40 people through the special operations boats, and that's the flexibility, that shift on the fly. We have a great team up on the bridge that are positioning the ship, getting us into the position. Our captain has a wealth of knowledge of the area. And
he's wonderful. We've interviewed him and want to again.
Of course, and he, and he's the one coming to the expedition leader. It's not just the expedition team that has it.
Right.
The captain has the flexibility, and he'll come and make a suggestion. He said, the weather's not looking great tomorrow. We could extend here. I'm happy to stay an extra couple hours if you want to put some more sub dives on or some more kayak excursions, and then the team rolls into motion, and in our office they're looking at who's missed something or who wants to go, who's on a wait list for an activity, and they're making calls, frantically filling those extra spots.
Into very late in the evening, and I admire that, because not only are they out all day, but they come home to base camp to make sure that every guest gets to experience the most that they can.
Yeah, and it's I mean, you could say it's their job, but the way they do it, it almost seems like their passion as well. So.
It does. One example, I got back to the stateroom tonight, and there was a notice on the television. You get it on the app on the television, you get the phone call, but the notice was, we've added a snowshoeing hike tomorrow morning, which we had never even heard would be offered.
Yep.
And they have 60 spots, and I know it'll be very difficult for many, so it's a tough hike, but I've already heard at least 20 who said, that's what I want. I didn't know I could do that. They're ecstatic, and it was just an extra added at the last minute so they could experience more. And you didn't have to do that, but
no, but it's fun for the guests and it's fun for the team. So
very much so.
They were excited to do it. They did a little brainstorming on what there were a few little changes for the next couple of days with weather and looking at the situation. So they were, well, let's take advantage of this site tomorrow. What else can we do? And then the team comes up with ideas, and the snowshoe is one of those.
I mean, that's going to be exciting. I'm not going to do it. I heard it is really arduous, and I think I'll skip that, but I'll explore another way.
Yeah, there'll be lots of ways to enjoy the landing tomorrow.
Very much. Is there anything final you'd like to share with, I think this is going to be shared with future guests, booked guests, coming to Antarctica, thinking about coming to Antarctica. Is there just anything final you'd like to share?
I think it's a great question, and for me, it's come with expectations, but come with an open mind. We will do our best to share what we can of Antarctica with you. Every person is different, and every person has their own interests and their own passions and what lights them up. And we will do our best over the days we're down here to find those passions and to light up each individual person and show them the Antarctic that they want to see, that's going to be most important to them. But we need time to do it, and that's where I say, come with expectations, but be willing to absorb Antarctica and let us share with you what we know of the place. It's as you mentioned, our team has so much experience and so much passion for the place, and that's every day when they get up in the morning, that's what they want to do is share Antarctica and share their love of Antarctica with the guest. And so that's what I ask, is allow them to do so.
That is certainly what I've experienced, and thank you for picking such a fabulous team.
Yeah,
and
no.
Thank you for being on board with us this time.
Yeah, it's a
been
great
fun.
pleasure.
And your piping, the bagpipes yesterday on the bow, we got it a little bit on video, and I know we're going to share that, but that was really special on our sail away to have your bagpipes playing, and it was beautiful, beautiful.
I've been piping since I was 11.
11.
So the captain asked me if I would play on the bow as we sailed out of Paradise Harbor. And I did try to skulk back in the corner, and the captain, I looked up at the bridge, and the captain pointed right to the bow of the ship. He wanted me right on the point of the bow.
Front and center.
And the captain is a showman. He loves the Antarctic, and he loves his ship here, and so he spun the ship with a beautiful background.
It was
for the photos. And but it was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All the guests were out on the bow
Yeah.
and just loving it. It was just magical. As every day has been, but that really added to that sail away.
And the magic with bagpipes is knowing that just a few minutes is enough. And that's as a piper, I say that.
Okay. Well, whatever, your performance was perfect.
Thank you.
Spot on.
Thank you. That was good fun.
Well, thank you.